Well, I just want to say thank you to Christy, Ryan, the entire Family Battle family for welcoming us into this beautiful space today. Fanny Battle's been caring for Nashville's children since 1891, so 135 years, which is longer than the Metro government has existed. But today, one of the things that matters most is we're combining those two ideas of great professional child care and the Metro process and the legislative process. And today, I'm excited that we will sit down in just a second and sign an important piece of legislation that gives child care projects an expedited pathway in our permitting process, just like we've done for affordable housing. And the reason we'll get to sign that bill is that Councilmember Clay Capp, whose District 6 we're standing in this morning, championed this legislation from day one and did what the best council members do. He took something everybody agrees is a problem, identified a workable solution, and collaborated with those who would be responsible for implementing it to get it right. So Councilmember Capp, thank you. Thanks for your leadership, and thank you to the 22 co-sponsors of this legislation, including Councilmember Rollin Horton, who is carrying another piece of legislation working its way through the Metro Council that will also make it easier to open and operate a home-based child care center. That legislation just passed the Metro Planning Commission last night and is scheduled for passage at the Metro Council in May. The legislation we're signing today, though, does something pretty simple. It moves child care permits to the front of the line. The real-world impact of that change is anything but simple, though, and I'll share with you. We've had an important update from Raising Readers Nashville, and here's what we know. More than half of Nashville families struggle to find or access affordable, high-quality early education. In the last 6 years, a time of rapid population growth, Nashville has lost 15% of its licensed child care providers, and at the end of the day, more than 80% of Nashville families have reported employment disruptions related to a lack of access to affordable care. This isn't just a child care problem, it's a workforce problem and ultimately an economic and family and household problem. Because when a Nashville parent can't find care, it is much harder to go to work. But when we get this right, people keep their jobs, they advance professionally, their families are healthy, they stay, and that's a win for the whole city. What we've heard from providers, including people like partners at Fanny Battle, is that when somebody wants to open a new center or expand the one they already run, they can spend a year or more navigating overlapping permits, zoning, and inspections, and that is lost time, and it leaves classrooms sitting empty even when buildings are built and families remaining on wait lists. And so what this legislation says to our community is if you're trying to open childcare in Nashville, the city will work with you to prioritize that and make it happen. These first two pieces of legislation are a step in the right direction, but they aren't the whole solution. The people we're going to hear from today in just a few minutes will tell you why. We know we have a looming workforce crisis. There's still real work ahead of us here locally and at the state and federal level where we will continue asking our partners there for more support of this issue. But this is a tangible common sense step that Nashville can take right now. And before I hand it off, I want to thank one more person, Melanie Schinbaum, and the entire Nashville Early Education Coalition, also known as NEEC. NEEC has been the connective tissue that makes work like this possible, and their policy blueprint has helped shape how we're thinking about all of it. So you'll hear from Melanie shortly, and I want you to hear from the people doing this work every day. Before we do that, though, I am going to invite Councilmember Capp to say a few words. Councilmember, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connell, for your kind words and for supporting this effort. Thank you to Fanny Battle for having us this morning. Thank you all for being here today. Childcare is scarce and expensive to a ridiculous degree in Nashville. That is something the Metro government can and should help with. It is an important problem for our children and families who badly need this. This is a sound, solid policy update to create a process for expediting permits for folks who want to bring these projects online. That will make it more predictable, faster, and cheaper, which will help more of them open and help relieve that childcare scarcity and unaffordability crisis. There is nothing more important than nurturing and educating and caring for our children. It's up to us to support the folks who want to do that work and all of the children and families who so badly need it. And so with that, I want to thank Fanny Battle and Christy Ryan, who is the executive director of the Fanny Battle Day Home, to say a few words as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Capp, and thank you, Mayor O'Connell, for being here. Welcome to Fanny Battle, everyone. As Mayor O'Connell mentioned, this is our 135th year. we are completely and totally dedicated to making sure that early education is a priority in Nashville, and we couldn't be happier to host all of you for this really special legislation that has just passed. But for those of you who don't know, Fannie Battle, on average each year, serves about 140 children, ages 6 weeks, all the way up to age 10 in our school age before and after school program. Most of those children come from working families, meaning that they're out there doing the very, very best to make sure that their families have everything they need. A huge majority of those families we serve come from the lower income levels, so they're struggling. Making ends meet is not just something that is difficult for them. It is sometimes, life and death situations. They're trying to decide whether they're going to put their children in daycare, or are they going to be able to go to work, or do they put food on the table or pay their rent? There's a lot of things that come into mind for them that's really, really difficult. So ensuring that all families, no matter their income, have access to high quality care, that is our mission, and I'm very, very proud of that. I'm also proud to stand here with a mayor and a council member who are willing to make sure that our commitment can continue on. But I want to be honest with you this morning about what it really does take to keep our doors open and what it would take to open more doors like Fannie Battle's across Nashville. When people hear child care, they often think of it just as a business like anything else. When costs go up, you simply raise tuition rates, or you find other ways, or you cut staff. We can't cut staff. Staff is our lifeline. That's the reason that we can provide care. So the other challenge we have is we want to be able to make sure our teachers can afford to live in Nashville. That's harder and harder. But we can't just pay them more, because that would require us to raise tuition rates, and the math doesn't math on that. If you look at the early education math in Nashville, it's been broken for a long time. In fact, it's very similar across the entire country, and the amount families pay for care does not in any way equal the actual cost of care. So consider this. The true cost of providing high-quality care in the city that also takes care of the people who are caring for the children would require a single parent with one child, an infant, to spend 80% of their monthly income on child care for one child. If that parent had an infant and a preschooler, that would be 143% of their income. There's no family on earth who can pay that. And there's no provider who can, in good conscience, charge that. So what do? We rely on a very large mix of revenue sources. So we patchwork it together. That's tuition, that's state vouchers, it's private philanthropy. And even then, centers like ours, whose whole mission is to serve income-constrained families, we're expected to fundraise more than $500,000, sometimes $500,000 to $1 million each year, in addition to those other sources I mentioned earlier, just to hit the bare minimum. That's difficult for anyone, and I can't say that there's any corporation or any business in Nashville that would say that's a good model. So, what I can do is say that we're committed to providing care that is essential to all of the families across Nashville. We're committed to the fact that we're part of the infrastructure of Nashville, and we want to ensure that our citizens can work and provide for their families, and yet we don't, like I said before, pay enough that our staff can even meet basic needs. So it's not that we don't want to do it, it's just that there's not enough money to go around because the model itself is broken. There's not an easy solution to the challenges that we're facing, but I will say that this bill that was just passed is a step in the right direction, and I hope that it brings many, many more to come. So again, thank you for making this effort. I'm going to introduce one of our teachers who, if I could clone her and have 20 plus more like her, I would. This is Miss Jennifer Hearn, and she is from our Tadpoles classroom, a mixed age classroom, so children ages 6 weeks to 30 months. So she's seen it all, folks. Thank you, Jennifer.
Christy. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Hearn, and I'm a teacher here at Fannie Battle. I've been in preschool for 18 years. Not one time did I think when I joined this field that I would become incredibly wealthy. My career choice my career choice in this field was selected based on the need and the longevity in this field. Remember those two words, need and longevity. Nashville has experienced a serious daycare shortage. How could this be? Could it be the wait list times, which typically could be up to 6 months to a year? Perhaps it's the high cost of childcare, raising heights of like $14,000 a year, forcing families to make major financial decisions. Maybe it's due to labor shortage. Low wages for teachers lead to high staff turnover and limited capacity in facilities. When teachers leave us, it's not just sad, it's a real direct consequence for the children and families we serve, because the state mandates teacher and children ratios to be, for an infant, 1 to 4. So if I lose my assistant, there goes 8 spots that can no longer be filled. Therefore, classroom closes, we cut enrollment, our families have to deal with a longer waiting list, and they've already been on it for such a long time. Child care centers in Nashville are experiencing high turnovers. I watched us hire and lose teachers in the same month. Imagine how stressful and scary that could be for a small child and for the parents. Every month, somebody new. What I do know is that early childhood education is where the child learns to trust, learns to ask questions. Children need quality childcare that offers child supportive and nurturing relationships with trusted teachers and a positive environment. In these early years, the child's brain is developing so quickly. The experiences they have during this time will influence how they learn and develop for years to come. Throughout my 18 years in education, I've seen teachers get overlooked, underpaid. I have colleagues who love this work just as much as I do, and they're very, 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 very great at it. But it's sad when they have to make the choice to leave just because they can no longer afford it, leaving for jobs such as retail stores, warehouses, stores. I'm not a policy expert, but I know if we want more Nashville children to have a high-quality child care experience, we need to keep teachers in this field. And to do that as a community, we need to recognize this is the real skilled work that is done here. I'm not just here playing with children. We have a lot of people that we need to pay. And every morning when the teacher comes to school and they see that child come in their classroom, they know what they're doing it for. The child knows them, they build trust with them, they have a teacher who loves them. That is the fight that we are trying to protect. Child care needs more funding so that we continue to have longevity in child care centers, because if not, class dismissed. Thank you for listening. I'm going to hand it over to Melanie.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Mayor, Christie, Councilman. What we just heard from an 18-year classroom teacher, from a director running one of Nashville's most essential and longstanding centers, and from our mayor. It's not 4 different conversations, but one. And that's exactly why the Nashville Early Education Coalition exists. NEEC is a coalition of providers, funders, employers, policymakers, educators, and families. Our role is to be a neutral convener, a translator of data into action, and a catalyst for systems change. We don't own any single piece of the solution, but we connect the people that do. Some of those you've heard from today. The picture we see across Nashville's early education system, documented by our own providers and published by our partners, is consistent and urgent. In fact, much of the data you have heard us cite today about the state of childcare in our city comes from a groundbreaking childcare landscape study commissioned by United Way Raising Readers Nashville and conducted by the Vanderbilt Prenatal to 3 Policy Impact Center. More than half of all providers in Nashville responded to that survey, which is pretty remarkable from a survey standpoint. That work was funded several years back by our Metro Council, so it is especially fitting that we are back here today recognizing the challenges that lie ahead of us but also celebrating the council-led steps we are taking to improve. Let me ground this conversation in 3 themes that we're taking from the research and mapping directly to the work we're doing with NEEC. Our first priority is to expand childcare access. As you have heard this morning, the current childcare capacity meets the needs of only 56% of Nashville's children, from birth through age 5. The legislation that just passed is exactly the kind of local systems-level action we called for in our policy blueprint. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Metro Council and to the Mayor's Legislative Office for all the work on crafting these bills, aimed at increasing access to affordable, high-quality care. Second, NEEC aims to elevate early educators like Ms. Jennifer and thousands others across our city. The Vanderbilt data shows us that Nashville child care centers experience on average 20% annual turnover. As you just heard from Ms. Jennifer, this is hard to do, and as she also reminded us, it's hard for the children that they serve. This is why NEEC is launching a child care workforce scholarship pilot this year, because when we can help educators afford care for their own children, they can keep doing the work we need them to do for all children in our city. And lastly, I say all the time, but at NEEC, we believe that childcare is economic infrastructure. We know that what we do drives economic growth. You heard that the true cost of quality care in Nashville would require a single parent to spend 80% of their monthly income for one infant, and 143% for an infant and a preschooler. Truly staggering numbers. This is not about raising tuition or running centers more efficiently. It's a market failure, and we will only solve it through sustained public and private collaboration and investment aligned with the true cost of quality care. If you want to read more about the specific actionable priorities we recommend at the local, state, and federal levels, please pick up a copy of our policy blueprint on your way out the door. A copy of the research is also available. Here's the bottom line. The bill that passed this week is real progress. It is, and it's the kind of pragmatic, provider-informed policymaking that changes a system. But like Christy said, permits alone will not fix this. We also have to stabilize the workforce, fix the underlying business model, and keep showing up together as the coalition Nashville needs. To every partner in this room and to every Nashvillian who believes in the importance of making high-quality childcare accessible to all families, thank you. Let's keep at it. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Melanie, and thank you, Jennifer, Christie, and every teacher, provider, funder, and advocate, not just here at Fanny Battle, but gathered here today, and the ones who are working across the city. And I think what we've heard is exactly why we're here today. The stories from inside the classrooms here, the data from providers across Nashville, and the vision NEEC has put on the table with its policy blueprint. This is what the policy side of things looks like when it's grounded in the people doing the work. And you heard the cost of this is greater than any individual child care provider can offer, and greater certainly than Metro government can provide for in its entirety. And so just like with the other areas of housing, the other areas of affordability we're working on, housing, transportation, now adding childcare to that, finding pathways for people in education, where we've now expanded the university MNPS process to have full ride scholarships available into our 8 area colleges and universities, coupled with early college, high school. We are trying to create a comprehensive approach to affordability and opportunity in the city, but it does take full level of partnerships, that public and private process that Melanie talked about. So my administration is going to continue to partner with NEEC, with our colleagues on the Metro Council, and with providers and families until every Nashville parent who needs quality, affordable care can find it. That is a defining project. And today, we do get to celebrate a community win. We stood up this week for Nashville's working families, and now we'll get to sign some important legislation into law right here in Councilmember Capps' district, inside one of the centers that has been doing this work for more than a century. And I can't think of a better location for it. So I'll invite everyone over here to the table to join me as we sign this bill. And now I'll say we'll welcome back anyone. I'm happy to take questions about certainly the legislation we've got here today, but also happy to just talk about anything that's on your minds today for the reporters in the room. Stephen. It is. I think one of the things we talk to advocates a lot about is very often, because we have a similar conversation happening with housing advocates, is looking for those dedicated streams. It's very hard to truly dedicate funding if you don't have state support. And the reason Choose How You Move succeeded with dedicated funding was because that was state-enabled legislation. So we're constantly looking at tools with partners at the state and again, jurisdictions across Tennessee to see if we can unlock some more tools like that. They have, state legislators, the executive branch have gotten a little more focused on housing affordability. We're hoping to drive. I think I saw a hand over here. Oh, yeah, come over here. Well, so I think you'll know our Metro Human Relations Commission right now is working on a community survey for language access to Metro. Our goal is to do more across the board support. We have introduced, for instance, multilingual versions of the state of Metro for years. We're working on, I think the Winter Storm Response Commission is looking at this too. We've known across different crises, but also different opportunities that we just need to steadily improve language access. So we'll get the results from that survey and hope to improve from there. Cynthia? Yeah, I'd say it's mixed, but with plenty of things I'm concerned about. We did, again, get some opportunities to know that we can advance some significant infrastructure projects, but we also saw a lot of preemptive action. The large airports across Tennessee all just lost local control. I think that's going to be bad for not just economic development and global connectedness. I think it's going to be bad for area residents who are losing a degree of connection to their own airports. And so I think that is very troubling. We've lost a measure of control over our own downtown, and we're not the only city in that boat. Any city with an urban tourism development zone probably is expressing some concern right now about limits on everything from deliveries to special events, and so we're concerned about that. And then, of course, we saw multiple bills targeting our immigrant and LGBTQ communities across Tennessee. We're just beginning the process of legislative review, but there were several troubling pieces of legislation that came out of the General Assembly this year. Yeah, Austin. Yeah, we're still looking at that. It's actually unclear to us right now if the way the state drafted that law would require Metro Council approval, but we're still not, I'll say it this way, I think after talking to Wally Dietz as that bill was moving through the legislative process, it's not clear that we can be required to participate in something that does require an MOU. So we will be looking at that, and I'll say it's not clear to us either from discussions with the Davidson County Sheriff's Office that the sheriff could even accommodate the program realistically at this point. So we'll be taking a close look at that one. If we got him. Mickey? Yeah, I think for us, the marathon is one of those things that Nashvillians, most of us look forward to every year as a signature event. It does disrupt traffic patterns a little bit on the day of the marathon. I think for me, I'm always excited to have those kinds of events that locals love to participate in or go watch. We're in walking distance from our house for one of the routes, and so for years we've gone out there to just watch and cheer people on or offer orange slices or things like that. We may have a member of our team who has done the half marathon a couple times. Alex Apple may be out there tomorrow running a little bit farther than I am. For the first time, I'm going to be doing the 5K tomorrow. So I was out on an early morning practice run just this morning. We'll hope the weather is as nice as this, but may present some challenges. I do think the marathon's a great city event, and we're always eager to see if we can make it work better for Nashvillians and continue to strengthen the partnership. All right, thanks everybody for being here.